Welcome to the Starting Five podcast, where sports media and culture come together. Each episode, we break down key conversation in sports, connect classroom concepts to real-world careers, and highlight voices shaping the industry. Today, we'll kick things off with our Starting Five panel before welcoming a special guest who's made her mark at the highest level in the industry. Hey, I'm Claire Beddingfield.
Hi, I'm Casey O'Brien.
Hi, I'm Kinsley Delcourt.
Hi, I'm Payton Reed.
And hi, I am Taylor Ryan. Now that you guys all know our names, it's time to introduce our special guest. Now, this isn't just an ordinary guest. Today's guest is one of the most recognizable voices in sports media. She's covered everything from the NFL and NBA to major breaking sports news, as well as her work alongside with the SEC Network and the Atlanta Braves, bringing insight, credibility, and personality to every single story. You've seen her on platforms like the NFL Network and other major sporting outlets, where she's built an amazing reputation for sharp analysis and authentic storytelling. Ashley ShahAhmadi is a sports journalist, host, and reporter who knows how to inform, connect, and elevate any conversation. Without further ado, Ashley, welcome to the Starting Five podcast. We are so excited to have you here today. Thank you for squeezing us in. We know you're on the road, traveling for some big NBA games, so this is really an honor to get to speak to you.
No, thank you guys so much for having me. That was quite the introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Awesome. So we're going to get started. First off, Ashley, can you walk us through your career path in sports media? Obviously, you went to a huge university like the University of Georgia. Sports is very prevalent there. So how did you first get started with the opportunities you created there at Georgia, and roles that you think really most shaped you as a reporter and host?
Yeah, so I mean, huge shout out to University of Georgia and their broadcast program, because it truly set me up for what my first job ended up being, which was a weekend sports anchor for a really small local news station in Mississippi. That's kind of where I kickstarted my career. And what I was doing my senior year of college at Georgia in their broadcast program, we had like our own student run newscast. And I felt like it was, very similar to what I was doing in my first job. So it just definitely prepared me for that first job. And then I started, like I said, in Mississippi. I was a weekend sports anchor. I would do the sports cast for the 6 and 10 o'clock news. But it was great because in Mississippi, they cherished high school sports, college level. They don't have any pro teams, but, they would follow the Saints for NFL. And they were huge Braves fans there too. But just, they would shut down the town for Meridian High School football games, which is Meridian is the town that I first started in. And it was just a small town. And it was cool, experience, because I never grew up in a small town. And so to be able to kind of see how everyone rallied around high school sports and college sports was really, really an awesome, just kickstart to my career. So I spent some time there. I really got to, learn how to work a camera, how to edit. I mean, a lot of that stuff I was taught at Georgia, but obviously when you're in a job and it was, for an actual newscast, it's just a whole different level, even being in a small town there. But, I really got to build confidence being on camera, interviewing, editing my own stuff, writing stories. That's how I started the career, was just they called it a one-man band. And I know a lot of people nowadays, they'll ask how I started, and, that was kind of the thing back then. It was like when I was in school, it was like, okay, you kind of work your way up from a small town, small market, and things have changed so drastically now. And obviously social media is such a huge component of it too. And people have different paths to get there. But I am just such a big component of starting in that newsroom setting. I know a lot of jobs are few and far between now, but it just really teaches you so much about working with different types of people and working in that environment, and like high stress level of getting something on the air at a certain time and time management, all of those skills. So working there just was an incredible experience early on in my career. And I spent 4 years in Mississippi, and then I got the job with Fox Sports South at the time. They've changed their name a couple times now, but it was Fox Sports South then. And I got to work with the Braves, a couple NBA teams as like a digital reporter. And then from there, that's when I got the Charlotte Hornets job, which was just so surreal. And literally my dream since I was, really young was to be a sideline reporter in the NBA. And it was one of those things where, yes, I was kind of in the right place at the right time, but also they knew that I was ready. And, when they kind of called your number type of thing and you just step up and ready to go. So getting that Charlotte Hornets opportunity absolutely changed my life. And yeah, I spent 6 years there, and then now I'm working with NBC back in the NBA. I did some college football last year with SEC Network, which was really fun. But I love basketball. I love the game so much. And so I'm beyond thrilled to be in this role now.
Wow, so that's really intriguing to hear how you kind of built your way up and built such a strong foundation throughout your career. With that in mind, as someone covering major leagues and athletes, how do you build trust and credibility with both your audience and the people you report on?
That is a great question. And it definitely takes time. And I will say, now I work for a network. So I work for NBC covering the NBA. So I get to cover all 30 teams, which is a lot different than when I was a team reporter for the Charlotte Hornets. When you're a team reporter, you're with them every single day. You're at the practices, at the shoot arounds, on the buses, on the team planes. Like they see you every day. So building that trust is a lot easier just because you're around them so much. And I'm finding it a little bit more challenging now, which I've had obviously years in the NBA. So a lot of the players that I am, interviewing now, I've seen them before. Just even being with the Hornets, covering both teams in that capacity. So that's been really helpful, just building those relationships. But it is a lot different because when you are that team reporter, it's like you build that trust because you're with them every day, and they end up trusting you just because they know that you're in it for them and all that. But on this side of things, it's one of those things where you just kind of have to build your own credibility, and I feel like it just takes a lot of time and a lot of years. And like I said, it's nice because I feel like I had those relationships. Like I took 1 year and did college football last year, but now being back in the NBA, it's like I still have those relationships with a lot of, the team PR staff and the team coaches. And there's obviously turnover with every team, but they're bouncing around to the different teams. And it's like, you still just have those relationships from back then. So I think it just takes time and building your own, how you do things, and making sure that you always are professional. And from the get-go, I think that was maybe one of the most important lessons I learned, just from coworkers and people that I really relied on to help kind of guide me through when I first started with the Hornets. It was just, setting that professional tone from the beginning. And also not just in it for your questions. A lot of the times when I would interview players, it's like I want to ask about them, about their family, about their, about their lives and stuff, not just go and ask your question and get out. Just show that you care a little bit more. I feel like that really helps build the trust and gets you a good reputation with it as well.
That is really inspiring insight. I mean, like clearly from just hearing you talk, relationships you build are everything. So that's really awesome for us to learn and understand. Now, kind of shifting towards how social media has really been changing these days, especially through social platforms, streaming, and personality-driven coverage. What shifts have you personally noticed in your industry? And is there anything specific you've done to adapt to those changes?
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I do not like social media, which maybe it's not an unpopular opinion because I feel like some people, I feel like probably other people are the same way. But I do know how important it is for my job. I've actually gotten jobs from Instagram, from social media. I used to do a lot of country music stuff for CMT, and I literally got that job because their producer saw me on the Braves, saw a clip of me on the Braves on an Instagram reel or something, and DM'd me from there. I thought it was fake. I didn't even think it was a real thing because I was like, there's no way that you're actually DMing me. But lo and behold, that was real. So I do know how important social media is. But I do think there's a balance. And for me, you can get so just intertwined in that world, and it can be, as everyone knows, it can be pretty toxic. But if it's used in the right ways, I think it's super important. I mean, even just to connect to, the teams and the players. Obviously, a lot of these younger players, and I'm speaking just about the NBA just because I'm in it, are on social media, and you can, find out a lot about their lives and stories about them just from, what they post. And so I do think that it can be very helpful, and it is changing a lot. Like I said, back when I first got out of college, it was like, you go to a small market, you work your way up type of thing. And now I feel like a lot of people are getting jobs through social media. So I just think you need to teeter a fine line between it, because you just still like be your authentic self and do things the right way, but you can obviously use it to your advantage. I don't know if I actually answered the question you just asked me, but yeah, I do know the importance of it, but for me personally, I just always try and keep such a balance between it, because I do think that it can just like encapsulate you a little bit if you let it.
Yeah, I think that was such a great response, Ashley. Just shifting gears a little bit, the five of us are all, like yourself, women who are hoping to gain a career in the sports media world. And we all realize that women kind of have a unique perspective that they bring. So we were just wondering, how has your experience as a woman in sports influenced the way you approach storytelling, asking questions, and connecting with an audience?
Oh yeah, I think there's like a nurturing aspect to being a woman in it as well. Just like the way that I don't know, I feel like the way that I even phrase things or approach interviews is different than some of my male colleagues. And there's pros and cons obviously of both. And obviously with my male colleagues, a lot of them have played basketball, played in the NBA, played college basketball, so they have that perspective and they can share that with the players that they interview. But for me, even I became a mom earlier last year. And
Congratulations.
thank you. I appreciate it. But even some of these players, being parents, I feel
Mhm,
like it's kind of opened up this whole new world, and you're bonding on a different level
mhm.
of, yeah, now, your parents, and this is a whole nother way that you can approach an interview and like try and relate to some of the players. So that part's been really cool. And I just think it does give it a new perspective, or, just viewing the game from a different way. And yes, obviously, I work with guys like Grant Hill, Jamal Crawford, guys who had long NBA careers, and they bring such a amazing perspective, and that's who you want to hear from, but from more of like the fan perspective. And I get a lot of questions, especially when I worked for the team. It was like these fans, thought these guys were superheroes, and I would tell them that, be like, look, these kids or these fans, they cherish everything you guys do. They want to know what you eat before a game, what you listen to. They want to know every little thing. And I remember some of the players being like, why is this interesting? And I'm like, you guys are like almighty to them. So I feel like I was able to connect a lot of the fans to the players in that regards. And I don't know if it's more so being a woman or just the way that I approached interviews, but I felt like that kind of gave it a little bit of a different perspective. And I think you can just kind of find your own niche, whether it is being a woman or just how you approach the game or how you watch a game. And you can incorporate that into your interviews. And, it's been really fun, especially like the whole parenthood, motherhood thing. I feel like just connecting in that whole different way has been an added twist to these interviews and whatnot.
Oh, congratulations on becoming a
Oh,
mom.
thank you.
So my question is more just like getting into the job and
Mhm.
what your most difficult thing that you think has been coming into this job and skills and experiences that matter most and what you had wished you known earlier.
I think the biggest thing, and like I said, people get into this career in so many different ways now, but I think overall, everybody has to sacrifice and a lot. So this career is not for the weak, and it's not for someone who wants, a 9 to 5 job or work-life balance. This is not the career for you. It is pretty cutthroat, and it's competitive, and I mean it's so rewarding, and it's obviously incredible. Like I can't imagine doing anything else, and like this is literally what I've dreamed about since I was little. So there's obviously so many positives to it, but that being said, you are away from family, from friends, you miss holidays, you miss birthdays, you miss so much to try and get to where you want to be, that the sacrifice is something that I don't think people truly realize. Obviously when you get to a certain level, it might look fun and shiny, and it is, and it's traveling with the team and stuff like that, that was awesome. And traveling, you know, with NBC, it's like they put you in nice hotels and all that. It's very nice. But that being said, it's a grind, and it is something that I just don't think people truly realize until they're in it. And so I feel like, you know, I kind of knew. I just had like tunnel vision when it came to graduating college and getting this job. I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. I mean, when I drove to Meridian, Mississippi, and they had like 2 stop signs, and my mom helped me move in and then she left, I'll never forget that first night sitting in that apartment in downtown Meridian and just thinking like, okay, like this is it. Like this is the beginning of what I've been working for. And if I could go back and just tell that younger Ashley like where we are now, obviously it is so worth every single sacrifice, but it was incredibly hard. Just being young and being away from, you know, everyone that I loved and missing so many things. It's really hard. And so if you can have that mindset, like, okay, I'm going to do what it takes and I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up, then you're going to be fine. But I do think you just truly have to realize that before you get into the business, because it's pretty cutthroat, and it's pretty just, you know, you just need to have tunnel vision when it comes to these things and know where you want to go.
Well, Ashley, we cannot thank you enough for coming to talk to us today. We all really, really look up to you, especially as young college girls really wanting to follow that career path. So it means the world to us that you took your time. We know you're on the road traveling. So it was really, really sweet of you. Thank you so much.
Gosh.
I'll remember this forever.
Oh, you guys are awesome. No, thank you guys so
you,
much.
guys.
Please, if you ever have any questions, I'm so happy to help. I totally know exactly how you guys feel. I was in your shoes, and I know it seems daunting, but you can absolutely get there. Absolutely.
Yes,
So
thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you so much.
Thank
Safe
you.
travels.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Great one. We're going to stay on in chat. So whenever you just want to.
Okay. And you guys, I have to say, my husband went to Clemson, so I'm a little
Really?
biased.
Oh, yeah. Go
sometimes.
Tigers. Go Tigers.
Yes,
Go
he played
Tigers.
baseball there, so we
Oh,
love
that's
Clemson in our
awesome.
household too.
Love it.
That's
I love it.
awesome.
Anyway, you guys have a good one. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Gotta ask. Well,
She's
what were y'all's
awesome.
thoughts? I thought she was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like so confident and elegant, but so down to earth at the same time. Like, I
Yeah.
think she's just awesome.
Yeah.
She has it all. And I really liked her insight about like, you almost have to change your mindset on social media, because she obviously isn't one who gravitates towards it, but she was like, that's how you find these things and that's how you get connected.
Yeah.
I didn't even know she worked for country music. Like, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I know.
So that kind
Well,
of
I think clearly she's just a grinder, and like when she had her mind set up, like she knew what she
motivated.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's really appealing and attractive about her is just how down to earth and like rooted she still is.
Mhm.
Like she's still, family's so huge for her, and even just like her authenticity with us and how
Mhm.
down to earth she was with us, I think says a lot about her. And I think honestly, like, is why she is where she is right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I think like being an on-air personality, like that's like one of the biggest traits that they look for, especially being in that like sideline reporter role, because it doesn't want to seem like you're only trying to extract information from people. So that like relationship building of building that trust that she kind of mentioned before is really important when like you're trying to build a repertoire with these guys. They could tell you things that maybe they wouldn't tell other people. So I think again, like you said, that has to do with her personality style for sure.
I agree. Like the fact she even squeezed us in while she's in a
Mhm.
hotel about to be picked up from an airport. Like she's not just doing this for the looks. Like she actually cares about her work. And I think, like Claire said, that's what got her here. They can tell, you know, she's authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep. And then like also kind of like relating back to class when we watched that video of the lady asking the Jaguars coach like keep your head up and all that. And she was saying like when we asked the question about creating like credibility and trust, and she's pretty much like asking like talking about their families and asking them about their families, creating trust. I thought it was kind of funny to see like the blend with that other reporters do that too, just to create trust with those players so they like them and trust them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sports, like, in its essence is so community based. Like it genuinely brings people together. And I think that's what's so cool about sports. And so, like she kind of noted on, like connecting that, like being kind of the gap between the fans and the media, I think she plays like a really cool role. And it's not just like extracting information, but it's how can I like show who these people actually are outside of the game, which I think for the fan is so appealing because we really get to feel like we actually know them more than just a basketball player, if that makes sense.
For sure. And honestly, she opened my eyes to something I didn't really like think about. Like when I think of a reporter, I kind of think of the same thing the whole time. Like they're there to report stats, they're all that stuff. But she kind of proposed like there's different types of reporters. Like there's ones that are there for the stats and like the on the court, everything going on. But then she's more of like, I want to bring the fans together. I'm a mom. I know you guys have families. And it's interesting that like there are that many different types of jobs in the sporting world. And it's really just based on like what you want to deliver and how you go about your life. And like she's family, so that's what she does, you know, which I thought was really cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to Claire, to go off what you were saying earlier, I think one of the things by like showing the human side of the athletes kind of helps aid in those like parasocial relation like interactions that we were talking about with fans. I think fans
Yeah.
like to see like their athletes as people. And she was saying that like what to eat for breakfast is something so simple that like athletes might not think would be an interesting story, but as fans, it like makes us relate to those people. So I think like she plays a really important role in really connecting fans to like the people that they idolize.
Yeah, and like if a kid hears like Steph Curry eats this for breakfast, like an 8-year-old kid who wants to be Steph Curry when he grows up is like, maybe I need to eat that. Like it's as little as that I think people don't understand like how impactful these athletes are. And so, you know, something a person like what Ashley does in that position gets to kind of bring all of that to fruition for the fans. So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think that's really cool.
I think that's kind of like what sets her apart of like her answers being so genuine.
Mhm.
And the fact that like I think like media now is just like craving that kind of authenticity from people rather than just like media trained answers and like all this white noise that we're constantly getting now with how much media there is. So I think that's just what made her so gravitating.
Well, that was a way to start, y'all.
Yeah, that
Going
was such
out
a
with a
great guest to
bang.
like start it off with.
Yeah, coming out with a bang. But I think just I think one thing is like everyone in the sports industry has passion and they all love sports. But I think being knowledgeable and actually knowing your stuff is so huge and will set you apart. So I think if you can just like widen your scope on what you know and what sports you get into, I think it's just like it will only suit you well. You know what I mean?
Great. I mean, sports are the greatest thing in the world because it brings people together as a team who would never have known each other anyway. And like, especially at our age, we need to be like extreme knowledge in every single aspect of every sport because you know how like we were talking in class, the second you say one wrong thing, your credibility's gone forever, you know? But like you start getting things right and it builds up, then you become like Ashley, and then people will listen to you no matter what. So I think like maybe for our next podcast, we pivot to a different sport, to, like broaden that knowledge or, you know, just keep learning more.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I think like kind of she mentioned a little bit like the sports industry is becoming an increasingly competitive field. Like I think we've seen it kind of blow up in terms of people wanting to enter it. Because I think with social media, a bunch of new sports media jobs have been created, but with that comes like smaller jobs with a bigger pool of people fighting for them. So to really, I think, separate yourself, like you said, that you have to be willing to not only make those sacrifices, but again, be prepared, have that credibility aspect of it. 'Cause I think especially also as women, I think we naturally have a little bit of a harder time when it comes into those like reporter roles, like in terms of that credibility already. I think people can kind of not think of us as credible as we actually are. So I think we also have to work 10 times harder to make sure that like what we report on is factual and accurate.
And I think
Right.
also just what they were talking when she was talking about with being like really dedicated to the role and just understanding that it's super hard and you got to make the most out of it and work your way from the bottom to the top and understand what you're getting yourself into because it's not easy and it's difficult and as she has a kid too, I bet she's just seeing like the difficulties more than she was being away from her family. And I thought that was just really interesting. And you have to have a really good work ethic if you want to make it far in this industry.
Yeah. I think it takes an incredible amount of humility. Like, I think you have to be willing to do some of the grunt work and behind the scenes work that no one else wants to do. But, you kind of have to play like the jack of all trades. You got to do it all. You got to learn how to shoot. You got to learn how to edit, write, and then also the relational aspect. So I think how to like set yourself apart, like Ashley said, I think you kind of got to do it all. And it takes an incredible amount of humility because she started in a little town in Mississippi. It's not always going to be the glitz and the glamour with the jets and the hotels and all of that, but it's like how willing, like how much are you willing to do it? So I think it speaks to just her character and how she came from humble beginnings with the career and how she's remained humble throughout. Even now that she's on like the biggest stage in the industry, I think it's just cool that she's always stayed rooted in like where she came from and from Mississippi starting off. So
another thing that like I thought was just really insightful, she said, obviously we know this industry is harder for females because we haven't played baseball, we haven't played football, and those are two specific sports that we're all really interested in. So just never doubting your confidence. And even though you haven't played it, just as much as every single guy standing next to you and even more. Just really inspiring because she knows like the second she slips up, it's done forever. So just really like understanding that in like depth knowledge, and that just because you're a girl and haven't played these sports doesn't mean you're not going to bring the best takes to the side, like I honestly think that she is just like an amazing person and knows so much and's never doubted herself, and that's how she is where she is.
absolutely.
Yeah. And she mentioned like the idea of like how she thinks she kind of acts a little bit more like nurturing when she's like approaching an interview. So I think like kind of using your own strengths of your own personality traits, like kind of having a really strong sense of self and understanding like who you are and just kind of being yourself and letting that kind of shine through. Because I think that's when people relate to the most. I think like trying not to just conform to like what you think a reporter should be, and instead kind of just let yourself be your own type of reporter, whatever that is.
100%.
And I think people like we've talked about in class, like why are people so drawn to Pat McAfee? Like he's this crazy, like kind of personality, It's like it's kind of ridiculous in a sense, but it works. So I think not saying like you have to be crazy and now as outlandish as him, but like stick with like what is your brand, what's your identity, and I feel like that will draw people in. And I think for her and her brand and identity is like she's authentic, she's real, but she's nurturing and she's relatable and she knows how to get the like credibility and trust on both ends, fan side and her colleagues and who she's interviewing. So I think regardless, I just think knowing your identity and sticking to what can draw people in and what your appeal is and kind of playing to your strengths, I think is huge in this industry.
Yeah, well, I think we've kind of hit our time mark. Anyone else have anything to say? We can wrap it up.
Okay. That wraps up today's episode of the Starting Five podcast. We want to thank Ashley again for joining us and sharing her insight, experience, and advice from the world of sports media. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the Starting Five podcast and stay connected as we continue to explore sports, media, and the stories behind the headlines. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the Starting Five.